How many athletes have done this? 20? Myles Garrett? He's black. What? Wow. I mean, whoa. The agenda and the activism in this league is thick, folks. Caitlin Clark is being called a racist right now. Here we are. I mean, this is one game into the...
Caitlin Clark's appearance at a Morgan Wallen concert in Indianapolis, walking out with a country star as part of the show's opening, sparked a wave of online debate just one day into the WNBA season. The footage, which was displayed on the arena's big screen for the crowd, circulated widely on social media and drew sharply divided responses. Wallen has a history of controversy, most notably from an incident several years ago in which he was caught on video using a racial slur. That past has followed him, and some critics argued that Clark's association with him reflected poorly on her. Comments calling her out began appearing across platforms, with some pointing to her other social connections as part of a broader pattern.
Season. One game into the season, people are bringing up race and Caitlin Clark like clockwork. These people are so stupid. These people are so dumb. Morgan Wallen walked out with Caitlin Clark in Indianapolis. Does this surprise anybody? This is what Morgan does. He gets the biggest athlete of the town, or a couple of them.
Others brought up her friendship with media personality Dave Portnoy as further cause for concern. Supporters of Clark pushed back on the criticism quickly, noting that a long list of athletes, including several black athletes, have participated in similar walkout appearances at Wallen concerts. Among those cited were Marshawn Lynch, Mike Tyson, Chris Jones, Tyrese Halliburton, Peyton Manning, and Myles Garrett. The argument made was that singling out Clark for an appearance others had made without similar backlash was inconsistent at best. Clark's teammate Sophie Cunningham was also in attendance and posted about the event, which added another thread to the conversation.
Holmes and Kelsey in Kansas City, and they all walk out on... I mean, what are we doing? Okay, I'm going to turn that down so I don't get a copyright strike, but there she is. Caitlin Clark's walking out with Morgan Wallen. There she is. Let the crash outs begin. By the way, Sophie Cunningham was there too.
Reports also indicated that some of Clark's black teammates were present at the concert, a detail that further complicated the narrative being pushed by her critics. The debate quickly expanded beyond the concert itself, pulling in commentary about Clark's fan base, her political leanings, and the general culture war surrounding her presence in the WNBA. Within hours, the discussion had fragmented into several overlapping arguments, with people talking past one another across the usual social media fault lines. The whole episode unfolded against the backdrop of a season that had barely begun, with the fever fresh off a loss and the conversation around Clark already stretched across injuries, coaching decisions, roster concerns, and now this. For a player who generates more public attention than anyone else in the league, the offseason between games is apparently just as eventful as the games themselves.
Too, is my understanding. Oh, by the way, people are saying her black teammates were there. Anybody? Oh, it's quiet? Oh, it's funny how that works. Oh, let me guess, it doesn't work. Here we go. First, some bitch in the comments section openly supporting racism. Damn, Dave, the money ain't changed you, huh?
The Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers debate has reached an inflection point, and it has very little to do with what either player did in their most recent matchup. Bueckers was slightly better on the day, not dramatically, not by a commanding margin, but enough to register. The more significant shift is something harder to measure and more difficult to reverse. The argument for Clark's superiority over Bueckers has never rested on technical skill. On a pure skill-for-skill comparison, shot creation, efficiency, defensive effort, Bueckers holds the edge.
Morgan Wallen, who used a racial slur on video to open Still the Problem tour at Minneapolis U.S. Bank Stadium. Who gives a bleep? Nobody cares. I mean, come on. You're a racist. That has been used so much at this point that it's benign. Nothing's racist if everything is racist for.
None of it disrupted her internal compass. In her third game, she dropped 14 points in the first quarter alone. Against the LA Sparks, she spent most of the game sputtering, then hit back-to-back step-back shots from deep to win it. Against Washington, she drained 5 three-pointers in a row while essentially dancing around defenders, channeling the same current-carrying energy that made the 2015 version of Stephen Curry feel like something new was happening to the sport. She was adding weapons in real time, responding to critics by immediately incorporating behind-the-back dribbles and extended-range pull-ups into her game mid-season.
Christ's sakes. Hell, they're coming after Portnoy for even putting this up. This is so stupid. Oh, no, he used a slur like 5 years ago. Right. I mean, nobody gives a rat's. Caitlin Clark walked out with Morgan Wallen. I mean, the comments are dumpster fire. Oh, Caitlin, this is not okay. This guy's known to be.
She was a goldfish in the best possible sense. Whatever happened 3 possessions ago was already gone. That quality, above all else, is what has started to fade. There is a scene from the most recent game that captures it more precisely than any box score line could. While the Fever were still in the game and winning, Clark was on the bench studying footage on a tablet, breaking down possessions. That image is not inherently alarming. Preparation matters.
Racially problematic. I mean, if you use the word problematic, flush yourself down a toilet. We don't need you. Texting and being friends with Dave Portnoy, hanging out with a racist MAGA dude at a certain point. God, y'all are still bitching about MAGA. Oh.
But there is a version of Clark who would have been on that bench thinking about nothing at all, storing energy, trusting that when she got back on the floor, her instincts would handle whatever the game required. The two versions represent fundamentally different relationships with the sport. The analogy to soccer is instructive. Elite European football over the past decade has largely eliminated the instinct-driven flair player. Systems, pressing metrics, defensive tracking data, all of it has eroded the space for players who thrive on improvisation.
Suck it. Okay, how about this? Who walked out with Morgan Wallen? Marshawn Lynch, Dude Black, David Spade, Mike Tyson, Kelsey, Mahomes, Drake, Peyton Manning, Chris Jones, Tyrese Halliburton, Moneybag Yo. I guess they're all racist. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Myles Garrett in Cleveland walked.
Coaches who came up in that era and analysts who evaluate performance through those frameworks have less tolerance for the player who loses the ball 3 times in the first half and then orchestrates a 27-2 run in the third quarter. But that is precisely the kind of player Clark is, or was. Her best game against Phoenix, where she scored or assisted on 24 of 27 points during a dominant run, came on a night she shot 4 of 1-4. The efficiency looked like failure. The impact was overwhelming.
Today, I don't think Paige was spectacular today. I think Paige was slightly better than Caitlin. But I use the word very much slightly. I think she was slightly better. The problem is that I've always made the argument, even when Paige was in UConn, that from a tangible skill level, if you matched up skills, if this was NBA 2K, Paige Beckers would be a better NBA 2K player than Caitlin Clark. That has always been my opinion. I've always felt like that. The difference has been mentality. I feel
the current Clark shoots more contested step-back threes off multiple dribbles and fewer of the instinctive passes that used to leave defenses scrambled. Her spectacular turnovers are down. Her risky, thread-the-needle passes are down. Statistically, these look like improvements. But the passes she is no longer throwing are the ones only she could make, and their absence represents a net loss in what she actually brings to the game.
I feel like Paige has a naturally passive mentality. I feel like Caitlin is Kobe-esque. I feel like Caitlin has a killer mentality. I think with every passing game, with every passing week, it feels like Caitlin's killer is going. It does not feel like she has, for lack of a better word, like that same aura about her. Because this was, she just like, if you look in high, like,
When you force a player to think carefully about each decision to minimize errors, you also eliminate the unpredictable brilliance that justified accepting those errors in the first place. Clark's best attributes: reading the floor before the defense has finished rotating, delivering passes to angles that technically should not be open, manufacturing advantages through movement and gravity rather than through set actions, are fundamentally instinct-based. They cannot be dialed up on command. They require the same unself-conscious confidence she had as a rookie, the kind that treats a 7-point game the same way it treats a 3-0-point game.
If you look in outside, like a couple of texts for, Zaza James teeing up flops, or say offensive fouls. Yeah. Like, if she doesn't do that 3 times, her stat line on the day is 20 points, 7 assists, and 2 turnovers, 5 boards. She's, again, a 25-5 game. Nobody's ever averaged 25-5. If she does this for the season, cool. Like, this is not a bad game from Caitlin Clark. A very poor game based on what we expected from her, given the context of the overall game and the score of the game. You would expect.
Something in that mental foundation appears to have shifted. To be clear, Bucher still carries every limitation she has always carried. She nearly disappeared in the fourth quarter of this game. She shot 80% from the field and took only 10 shots.
Of the game, you would be expecting more, but no, a bang average game from Caitlin. The problem is that there's no longer, and I can see it in my chat. Even when she was struggling, even when she had 3 points against New York, even when she had 8 points in a win against Chicago and against Angel Reese, there was always this kind of like aura that something major might happen. It doesn't even feel like Caitlin Clark believes that anymore.
She missed 2 critical free throws late. She turned the ball over 3 times in the same way in 3 separate possessions. The efficiency metrics look excellent. The competitive instinct in pressure moments is still inconsistent.
It doesn't even feel like Caitlin Clark believes that anymore. And that's the scary thing. I think Caitlin Clark completely irrationally believed she was the best player in the world coming out of college. I think she believed it. I think she thought no one was better than her. Like, she came up against a team of 6 WNBA players in LSU and gave them a 40-point near triple-double and cooked them. Even when she was struggling early on in her WNBA career, being picked up full court and struggling, she still went in their first win against the Seattle Storm. She struggled the entire game. Seattle Storm.
These are not new observations, but the advantage Clark held over Bucher's was never in the technical column. Clark is still the superior passer and the more complete point guard in terms of orchestrating an offense. Bucher's creates her own shot more reliably, fits more seamlessly into any system, and produces fewer catastrophic lows.
She struggled the entire game. Seattle Storm, the LA Sparks, she struggled the entire game and hit back-to-back step-back 30-footers to win the game. Then they got the win against Chicago. Then she had 30 against Washington, 5 threes in a row, was dancing around, was like Steph Curry aura. Like, remember 2015 Stephen Curry when he boomed, where it was like, you can tell, even if the world doesn't believe he's the best player in the world, you can tell this guy thinks he's the best player in the world. You can tell Steph Curry thinks Steph Curry's the best player in the world.
The problem is that the highs Clark is capable of, the possessions where she genuinely changes what a basketball game looks like, require a specific mental state she has to inhabit fully. A careful, self-monitoring Clark, one who pauses to evaluate risk before throwing a pass, is just a very good point guard. And when the comparison is against the most technically gifted guard in WNBA history, a very good point guard is not enough. Whether this shift is coaching-driven, self-imposed, or some combination of the two remains genuinely unclear.
Steph Curry thinks Steph Curry's the best player in the world. That when he was running around in circles going through Chris Paul, like, Caitlin Clark was just adding stuff to her arsenal in 2024. Like, when I think it was her 35-point game. Fans started saying she didn't have a handle, so she just started spamming behind the back dribbles and shooting step backs, creating separation, doing all this stuff. And it's like, she has the ability, she has more ability now. Her handle, I don't know what happened the first 5 minutes of that game, but her handle's better than it ever was. She's stronger, she's better at.
The 2024 season represented arguably the greatest single-season point guard performance the WNBA has ever seen. The version producing those numbers was not trying to smooth out her rough edges. She was operating from the inside out, trusting her instincts ahead of everything else, and the results were historic. Trying to eliminate what made her imperfect may have inadvertently started eliminating what made her exceptional.
That game, but her handle's better than it ever was. She's stronger. She's better athletically. When she locks in, she's a better defender. All the tangible things are there. The problem for me with Caitlin right now is it doesn't feel like she believes she has that irrational confidence anymore. And ironically, believing you're the best player in the world if you're Caitlin Clark now is not irrational confidence. When your bad game is 25-7. And maybe this is my opinion being like